What's up, everybody? This is the Tied to the Land podcast, where we believe that everybody is tied to the land in some way, shape, or form. On this podcast, we'll explore the intimate connection that people feel with the land beneath their feet, while telling the stories of folks whose lives have been impacted by their roots to the rural lifestyle. This podcast is brought to you by Arrowhead Land Company, where their mission is to create, inspire, or advance a connection to the land in every person throughout the world. What's up, everybody? This is the Tied to the Land podcast. My name's Andrew Schultz, and I'm sitting here with Steele and Becca Schwonke. Thanks for coming in, guys.
Yeah, man.
Heck yeah. So we're going to get into a lot today. It's going to be a good one. It's going to be fun. We got a husband and wife dynamic duo here for the first time on the podcast, and Steele and Becca are friends of mine, and of course, we work together as well, Steele and I. So, guys, we're going to get into all kinds of things today. We're going to talk about ranching. We're going to talk about raising your family in the outdoors. Sure. We're going to talk about the dynamic between, Steele doing your thing and Becca, you stay home with the kids. And I know that's not the way it's always been, but you have a way harder job than Steele does, right? So I'm going to talk about some of that. And then we may even push up on some cultural boundaries here, just about traditional gender roles and, things like that. Like I know that you guys like to talk about, and we've talked about behind the scenes before and stuff like that. So it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Cool. So if you guys don't mind, Steele, just start off, tell me about yourself, and Becca, you as well, and, maybe a little bit of history behind how you guys met and how you got to where you're at now. And we'll just start there and see where it goes.
So I grew up in Azle, Texas. So did she. So that's how we had a foundation going to the same church, same elementary school. I actually remember her older sister. She remembers my younger brother.
Oh,
but we don't remember each other.
Okay. Funny how that works.
Yeah. So then I went to junior high and high school in Alabama, and then joined the military and went off to Germany. And
thank you for your service, man.
Yeah, a couple deployments, and came back to North Carolina, stayed on the East Coast, and I always wanted to come back west. And I was really between Montana, Wyoming, Kansas, Oklahoma, or Texas. I decided I didn't want to be cold and feed cows in the snow. So it was Kansas, Oklahoma, or Texas. Land values in Texas were a little more than my mid to late 20s could afford.
Yeah.
So my deciding factor was, in Kansas you can kill one buck, and in Oklahoma you can kill two.
Love it.
So that's how I
At the time, maybe even three. Wasn't there a time in Oklahoma where you could kill 3 bucks?
I don't know, man, but when I was a kid in Alabama, you could kill a buck and a doe every day from October 15th to January 31st, or 2 does a day every day until January 31st. So we were just killing.
I'm moving to Alabama.
Yeah, but
They
changed
it?
It's changed now. You can kill 6 bucks, which is still cool, but they have been killing some giants this year. I've seen more big deer killed in Alabama this year than any year previously. It's crazy.
So you feel like it's bouncing back?
At 100%. That change was probably made, just guessing, 8 to 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's for sure made a difference.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, people, and I don't want to get too far off in the weeds here on this, but, management strategies work. And when you live in a state and you're passionate about hunting and you don't necessarily agree with some of the laws or the ways that hunting regulations are controlled, right? That stuff can make a big difference. And so I think it's important to have a voice towards conservation and towards, better, healthier deer numbers and herds. And I think that's great. So I think where you were going to get with that is that somehow led you to Becca after you found out.
Deer.
Well, so it was.
That's all right.
So I was in it. Honestly, it was on my mind. So when I was in North Carolina, still at Bragg, because we went to the same elementary school over time, and as Facebook grew, we had a lot of the same mutual friends. So she showed up on my mutual friends one day. So I sent her a friend request. She was good looking and a college
There you go.
college cheerleader.
There you go.
I added her, and then I think she was in my DMs first for sure.
Okay.
But so we had talked a little bit. So I thought, man, that drive to Azel's not going to be very far, from McAllister, which is where I landed in Oklahoma. And we started talking again, and
It blossomed from there.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Is that your? Is that how you recall the story?
Oh no, I got to tell you how I did it. Okay, so she was kind of playing hard to get, right? And I had her on Snapchat, and like we were on the same social media stuff. And she played a song. She posted a story one day, Ray LaMontagne, and it was like a grungy, in your feels, kind of sad, depressed, but like kind of song. And I was like, ooh, I got you now. Like, that's the kind of music you like?
So as the tough military cowboy guy, you were like, hey, girl, you seem kind of sad.
Yeah, exactly. He was taking advantage of me when I was most vulnerable.
I think that's called psychological manipulation.
Absolutely.
Well, look at where we are.
But it all worked out.
It all worked out.
Yeah, that's awesome. So how did y'all land in Oklahoma then?
So I decided on the state. That was my deciding factor to come here.
And this was prior to you guys meeting. So you were already in Oklahoma.
No. Well, no, I'd been talking to her from North Carolina.
Gotcha.
But I decided on Oklahoma, and then I wanted to make sure that I could go somewhere and live a lifestyle that I've always lived, the lifestyle that I've always wanted. I wanted to raise my family on land, around cattle, good deer hunting, good duck hunting. That was just that's what I wanted to do. So I wanted to pick my location before I even started looking for a job. Yeah. So I picked Oklahoma, and then because I was a veteran, I applied at the Army Ammunition Plant and got it. And that's how I got to Southeast Oklahoma.
But the first time I met him was in Oklahoma.
Okay, right on. Yeah. Cool. So you guys live on a ranch. Yep. And y'all do the ranching thing together. It's kind of a family affair, which I think is awesome. So, Becca, I don't know if you come from a ranching family or not. I didn't think you did. So I'm going to talk to you for a second, because I'm sure if we give Steele an open mic to talk about ranching, we'll both be here until late tonight. So what's it been like? You guys recently bought your dream place probably a few years ago now? 2 or 3 years ago? 4 years ago? Okay. So what's it been like moving onto the ranch? You have 3 beautiful boys, and getting them involved and getting out there and, putting on your boots and doing the thing. Like, tell me what that's like. Did you ever see that for yourself?
Not at all.
Okay,
no,
so talk to me about that.
My family, we grew up in a smaller town, but definitely not ranch driven.
Yeah.
No, that wasn't I actually ended up going to college in Stephenville, Texas, and that's considered
like cowboys.
Hey, let me get there. This is my question.
Yeah.
Thank you. And went to Tarleton. Complained to my mom every day, like, oh my God, the Cowboys. I can't handle it. It's not my thing. Like, they're spitting in the water fountains, like, Mom, get me out of here. So I actually ended up transferring to UNT, where I then cheered for a few years, graduated from there. No, definitely did not see this as my future, but I'm definitely grateful.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot, still learning a lot every day.
Yeah.
But it's wild. It's not glamorous.
Well, I think that's amazing, right? Because we oftentimes don't think about the plans that God has for us. We're thinking about the plans that we have for ourselves,
Absolutely.
right? And you already said you had no intentions of marrying a cowboy.
Nope.
You don't come from a ranching family. You probably had career ambitions outside of being a stay-at-home mom, maybe. I'm assuming that. That might be wrong. And so what's it been like, y'all are at your place, you've got 3 boys running around, Steele's out working, and we'll get into what he does here in a little bit and how that's impacted the family and allowed you guys to do what you do. But what's it like being out on the land with your 3 boys, and you're home alone, and he's out working, and you're having to maybe go take care of some things on the ranch and drag them along with you and make sure everybody's accounted for. And, I grew up with 4 brothers, so I know there's never a dull moment, I'm sure, in your household. So, like, what's that been like? Is it always chaos, or do you ever like stop and have to pinch yourself like, holy cow, I never envisioned any of this, but this is amazing. Like, this is a dream come true.
No, it's always chaos.
Yeah.
I do have to pinch myself and tell myself to slow down. It is always chaos.
Yeah.
But you do, like, in hindsight, say when they go to bed, like, that's when I feel like we can really reflect on, like, man, like, we are so grateful. We're exhausted. We're tired, but we're so grateful.
Yeah.
But I mean, every day there's something. I either get a text from Steele, hey, can you go turn the waters on? I mean, it could be boys asleep. Cows are out. I'm waking boys up, loading them up to go take care of what we got to take care of.
Yeah. And the boys love it too, right? I mean, they seem to be ate up with it just the way you guys are.
They are already cowboys.
Yeah.
Well, and from the outside looking in, honestly, if it wasn't for her ability to load them up in the side-by-side and go out and do,
you couldn't do what you do.
No, for sure. But that gives her a break. She can get them involved in doing something outside with the side-by-side. She takes them fishing all the time. There's just go feed cows, unroll. I mean, she takes them to do everything.
Yeah,
so
they go with us
everywhere. It's a break
everywhere.
from being in the house.
In the house,
Yeah.
I'm very go anyway, so there's no way I could do this and live in the suburbs. I would go crazy.
Right.
So it is. I get what Steele's saying, like a break, like a mental, like let's go out, let's be outside. I literally just ordered them jumpsuits, pants, snowsuits, so that we can still go outside. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what time of year it is. We're doing whatever we can to get outside.
That's amazing. Yeah. I mean, this is the Tied to the Land podcast, right?
Yeah,
I think
that's right.
It's safe to say so far that y'all's enjoyment comes from being out on the land. And I can resonate with what you're saying, because if I'm stressed or if I need a break, I don't have any kids yet, but I've got other stresses and things in my life, just like everybody. And when I can step out onto the land, get out of the house, get out of the office, and just spend time in God's creation, you just have like this calming feeling come over you, And I'm sure it's no different when you're needing out of the house with those guys and things are feeling kind of crazy.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So with that being said, like, talk to me about the importance of raising your boys in the outdoors. I mean, you just said, like, I couldn't picture being in the suburbs as opposed to what we're doing right now. I mean, did y'all, before you had kids, did you talk about, and I know that due to your lifestyle, it was probably never really an option, but did y'all talk about or have intentional conversations surrounding, hey, we're going to be in the outdoors, we're going to raise our kids on the land, we're going to teach them about faith and family and, values and morals? I mean, what was that like, thinking about, okay, we're about to have a family and this is what it's going to look like?
So I have always wanted to be a dad. I mean, as long as I can remember, as an 10-year-old kid, I wanted to have little boys.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
awesome,
just
man.
it's all I've ever wanted to do. So when I met her,
what do you say to the folks watching this that think you'd probably be a girl dad?
Yeah, man, I don't know.
She would be rotten.
If I could guarantee that I could have a girl, I would have one more.
One more?
But
you got a 50-50 chance.
The absolute terror of having another boy. Our boys are wild. I mean, they don't stop. They're up before the sun, and they're, we put them to bed. I mean, they have bedtimes, but they're up before the sun and
forced
open
to go to
their
bed.
eyes, and it's just gone.
Yeah.
So I can't. Dude, I couldn't have another boy, I don't think. But anyway, so I was always of the mindset that raising boys, which is what I wanted, and sure, I could have had girls, but I didn't. Thank God. So I always thought that raising boys outside around hunting and fishing and cattle and ranching, I always believed that was the best environment to raise boys in, to teach them how to be men, to teach them about life and death and about sacrifice and hard work. So we had that very intentional conversation when we got together, and she always wanted land. She didn't necessarily know all of the lessons that you could teach kids in this environment,
sure.
But she wanted land, and that was enough for me to say, hey, look, here's all the things that our kids are going to learn and how conducive that's going to be to their success in life. And she was absolutely on board, and
well, I think it's, I hate that we even have to talk about it, right? But you just said raising your boys to be men, not telling your boys that if they think they're a girl, they can be a girl, or not telling their boys that it's okay to let somebody else maybe provide for you, whether that's the government or, God knows who one day. I mean, you're teaching them about hard work and probably, I would say, more traditional gender roles and what it means to, have the privilege to grow into a young man one day and to meet your wife and to teach them about the outdoors and the land and the things that y'all have done with your boys. I mean, it's just crazy to me where we're at as a society right now, to think about that. People are giving their kids the option to say whether or not they're a boy or a girl and, to do some of these things. And so we won't get off on that tangent completely, but I just wanted to say that I think the land and God and just how all of that is intertwined runs parallel to teaching boys to be men and teaching young girls how to be good, strong women one day, and I think that I really appreciate that about the rural communities and the rural culture. Just you have more of that normalcy, and you have people who understand accountability and hard work and all the things that come along with creating a good, prosperous family dynamic, right?
Well, and let me say this too about Oklahoma. And there's never been a day that I woke up and regretted moving to Oklahoma. Not one. And Oklahoma as a whole, it's very rural, it's very traditional, and I believe that we're the majority here. Yeah. I've lived in other places. When I was rodeoing on the East Coast, you walk in a gas station to fill up and get diesel on the way to a rodeo, and you've got a hat and boots on, and people look at you like you're crazy. And here, we're almost a majority. I mean, it's a cowboy
it's
and ranch
probably
community
changing,
across
right?
the state.
I mean, it's changing everywhere throughout the United States.
Yeah, but I don't think that we see it. When I moved here, I thought, man, it's kind of like rolling back the clock to the 90s. That's what I thought when I moved into McAllister from the hustle and bustle of the East Coast. And I still think, I mean, it's not as noticeable now because it's been so long since I've been out there, but it's just, it's the best place I could think to raise a family.
Yeah.
I mean, it really, really is.
It's awesome.
I love it. I love Oklahoma.
So what would y'all say, and Becca, I guess I'll ask this to you. You guys obviously love Oklahoma, like you were just saying. We've been talking about what it's been able to do for your family and for your boys. And then you mentioned something earlier about living in the suburbs, and there's, let's be honest, there's lots of people out there who are not as fortunate as you guys in terms of being able to find a place in the country, or you having a job that revolves around the rural community and you being able to stay home with the kids. So what would you say to the people who are on the fence about maybe leaving their life in the concrete jungle and taking a chance and moving to a smaller rural community and saying, gosh, the school system here is just out of whack, and I want to get our kids to a place where they feel more safe and there's more opportunities for them in terms of maybe not careers per se, but opportunities to groom them into good young men and women. What would you say to those folks who are thinking, they're looking over the fence saying, man, that rural lifestyle just sounds beautiful, doesn't it? I wish we could get out and do that for ourselves and for our families. How do you get those people over the hump?
Take the risk.
Yeah, take the risk.
I mean, that's how we got here. We took risks. We prayed about it a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, you just have to take risks and be willing to maneuver however God plans for you. Like it happened fast for us. I don't think we ever expected it to happen this fast.
No, definitely.
For us to be blessed with what we have. But I do really believe that it was just from us taking risks and trusting the process.
And you can get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. You can build that for yourself, and I think it starts with those guys that do live in town or have a job closer to the city. Buying rural real estate, you can still buy property. Mm-hmm. You can still take your kids fishing. You can go buy 20, 30, 40 acres and start exposing them to that lifestyle from the suburbs or from town.
Yeah.
And find comfort in that, and then you just grow from there.
Yeah.
If that's what you want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So you were talking about buying rural real estate. I feel like it's a good chance to talk about what you do. So you're a rural real estate specialist with Arrowhead Land Company.
Yep.
And how long have you been with Arrowhead Land Company now?
So since it started.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Here we go. No, I'm kidding. So, but in all seriousness, it was like June or July of that year, right?
Yep.
Of 2022.
Yep. So Will called me before it even started and was like, "Hey, man, here's my vision. This is what I want to do. Are you down?" And I was just coming off of a year that I thought that I would never. I mean, I had a phenomenal year the year before, and it was so. Like Beck just said, I call her Beck, but like Beck just said, we took risks, and that was probably the biggest risk that had ever faced me. I mean, absolutely.
Yeah.
That was the biggest risk that had ever faced me, to leave a place where I just had that amount of success and start over again.
Yeah.
So I asked you, and I mean, I think I made y'all earn it for sure, and y'all did, but I just.
That's funny. We think we made you earn it.
Well, I mean, it was just a big risk to take, and I had to see that back to my family. I had to know that I could take that risk and have that level of support to be successful somewhere else.
Yeah.
And y'all showed it to me in a couple months, and that was it. And here I am.
It's really a cool story because I can remember building my relationship with you to what it is now, right?
Yeah.
And you were guarded at first. Like you had taken the risk, and you're talking about making the jump, but like mentally, I don't think you had fully committed to it, right? You were kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out, like, let's see, not in terms of maybe your effort, but in terms of, did I just make the right decision for my family, and for my wife and my kids? Sure. And I think that it's tough, right? It's easier said than done. And that's the reason I bring that up, is because y'all are talking about taking that risk, and you take a risk and you don't know what to expect. The only thing you can control is your effort into the decision that you just made, right? And I thought it was worth mentioning because it's not going to feel good until things are going good, right? And then there's a chance, just maybe there's a chance it doesn't go the way that you wrote it up, right? And then you have to decide, well, now what? How do I get myself out of this situation, or how do I keep pushing through, or how much longer do I go about this until it starts to feel good, or it starts to be what I thought it would be? And so you took that risk, and it's been awesome to see you blossom in terms of like kind of taking a deep breath and just kind of trusting the process, knowing that, okay, if I put in the effort, and I'm surrounded by other good people who are also putting in the effort, and we're collaborating every day to make sure that I'm successful, everything just has to fall into place, right? And I feel like it has, and it's been cool to watch you grow, even from where you were at, where you were talking about, well, I just come off of what was my best year ever. I felt like it was a unbeatable year, and I just wasn't sure what to expect with this new company, and now you're crushing it.
Yeah, so I love, so her dad is a is a financial advisor. So, or was, or has done. So residual income, residual effort, residual anything. I like residual anything. Or passive, I'm sorry. Passive, not residual, sorry. What really won me over probably was the structure and the ability to make money passively. I was a hustler. Everything that all the success that I had, I don't think anything was, thinking back, I don't think any opportunity was given to me. I had to go out and get it.
Yeah. And
that the dynamic at Arrowhead was so supportive and so conducive again, to create passive opportunity. Mm-hmm. So I could put things in place, and I had the support to put them there and get them started, and know that that's going to be carried through for me. So now I can go and hustle over here.
Yeah.
And that structure was very enticing to me, and it has absolutely helped my business and given me more time with my wife and kids.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always say our goal at Arrowhead Land Company is to increase your earnings while simultaneously enhancing the quality of your life. Yep. And I think when you're talking about the word passive, it was a proactive, conscious effort on our end in creating a business model that would set you up with the most opportunity to work on helping buyers and helping sellers, right? And then if you're not helping buyers and helping sellers, we don't want you doing all these other things behind the scenes that take so much time, right? Like the loading of the listings and the photography and this and that. And I could go on and on about the things that we offer. But more importantly, when you're not helping buyers and sellers, you're getting to spend quality time with your family, right? If you're not working, you're getting to be with them. And I feel like it should go without saying, but it doesn't. Passive is maybe not the perfect word, because your effort never lacked, right? True. All we did was we took your same effort, we put it into the things that would help you be more successful and help you make more money. And then when you weren't exerting that effort towards work, you were able to spend that time with your family. And
well, let me give you a perfect example, because this just happened. So we're coming back from Texas the other day. A guy calls, he gets one of my mailers, and he wants to list his place. We had it listed in 16 hours.
Yeah.
I called, I built a map, or had her built a map. I don't text while I drive. So
me neither.
Right. So I built a map, sent it to Carrie, told her the details, and it was done. She scheduled everything with Matt. It was live the next day.
Yeah.
I had to, and I was booked. I had 5 or 6 days. There's no way I could have gone out there in the next 5 or 6 days.
Yeah.
So that allows the property to get online almost instantaneously. I had to go back to the property so that I can speak intelligently on it and walk it. But there's no way that we could have done that fast without that level of support. And that's what I mean when I use the word passive, is there's all these other things at play and all this other support that allows us, not just me, but all of us, to support, to give increase the quality of the product for the client.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
You just can't.
Because that's what it's about at the end of the day.
That's right.
Is providing a higher level of service to the client, and we're simultaneously scratching your back too while we do what's best for the client. And people lose sight of that in this business, okay? It's, you could have said, well, I'd love to meet with you, but I'm 5 or 6 days out.
Right.
Instead, you said, well, let's get you taken care of. I got the team on standby. We're going to get this, and this knocked out, and let's get this thing going. And the client's like, oh, really? Yeah. And I feel like it's sad, but the bar is so low in this industry. And I don't like saying that, because it's not a knock on other people. It's just like the client deserves better. And so if we can provide that to them, it's a good thing all around, and it provides you with a better opportunity to be successful.
Man, we had that listing signed in less than 2 hours. So that gave me the ability to, on the road right then, start calling everyone that inquired, I had a similar listing not too far away. So I was able to pick up the phone almost right then and start calling all the people that didn't get to buy the last one to, hey, here, this one's coming. It'll be live tomorrow.
Yeah.
You better get it together.
Will and I, this is a true story. Will and I used to joke, or it wasn't a joke. We just used to think we were cool, I guess. But we knew that if we got a call, we still are cool. Okay, right. So just for the record, but
for sure.
If we got a call, we were dead set on trying to have that property online and listed before whoever else that seller called would call them back. Like, so, you figure, how often do you hear, I'm talking to a few other people too. I'm still waiting on a call back from another guy. And we're like, well, we could have it on the market in 24 hours. They're like, what? Really? Yeah.
Right now.
Right now.
Yeah.
We're ready to go. Oh, well, I mean, these guys haven't even called me back. Well, yeah.
Start sweeping the floors.
Yeah,
They're on their way.
I mean, so I can think of a couple listings in particular where we knew a seller was waiting on a call back from somebody else, and we also knew that we had it online on the market before that agent ever returned their call. And that's, if we can replicate that across the board here, that's what we want to do, of course.
Sure.
Now, with that being said, there's some agents who are new to the business. They need to do more due diligence. They need to, there's more to it than that. But
for sure,
this was a scenario where we were equipped with the tools and the knowledge to get these people what they needed, and so we rolled with it. So, with all that being said, Becca, what's it like? Steele's out in the field doing his thing. How do you feel like you can support him in that? How have you been there to help support him to be better? Because one of the things I'm really passionate about, and I've had the pleasure of interviewing a lot of people for a rural real estate specialist job over the years, and the ones who find success have a supportive spouse, if they're married, assuming they're married,
right.
They have a spouse who supports them and who enables them and who lifts them up and who knows that they're going to have to take calls at weird hours and who knows they may have to work weekends or some holidays and, so on and so forth. So what's it been like for you as a wife to somebody in that profession? How do you feel like you've been able to enable Steele to be more successful? And what's that been like for you? Has it been hard sometimes? Has it been like, oh my gosh, I just could use his help so bad right now, but I know he's got to go do this because if I hold him back, then he's not going to be able to provide for our family, So Talk to me a little bit about that dynamic.
I think it all probably stems from me as a young girl reading Proverbs 31 and knowing that I wanted to be a Proverbs 31 wife. Like I goals,
And so for everybody listening, Proverbs 31,
it's just serving you as a wife. You provide in different ways than a man provides.
Okay.
And so I think my role as Steele's wife is to provide a calm home for him. There's not much calmness in our life. It's all chaos.
Yeah.
So, the second he walks in the door, I'm not asking him to do something either. Like, the second he walks in the door, I'm not saying, hey, I need you to go take the trash out. Like, that's not, I don't think that doesn't benefit him. That doesn't benefit our marriage.
Yeah.
So I think just serving. I think a lot of people get lost in self, and it's all, you just have to have a servant's mind. So I just try to serve, and it pays back,
Yeah.
I get the benefits of giving him the opportunity to work, and we get the life that we live, and we're just really grateful.
To me, it's really beautiful, right? And I feel that there's a negative connotation around servancy in our society, but being a servant is a great thing. In fact, I was just at a Bible study the other morning, and they were talking about the dynamic between leaders and followers and servancy, and serving someone is a great thing, and good things come from servancy. And I think that the fear is you'll lose your identity in servancy, right? Like you become lesser because you're just doing what you can to support Steele. But I'm going to take a stab at this and say, like, you have become a better version of yourself through servancy, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, 100%. And it's really, again, it's not everyone's so caught up in self and like what makes me happy, what makes me, the most money, what makes me, it's not about you.
Yeah.
It's about what you can do for others. It's about God.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think once you take self out, you end up just you'll see how much you're blessed. Yeah.
But I do. So I have to because she is as selfless as she is, I have to be sure that she still gets time.
Yeah.
Me time.
And that she doesn't lose her identity.
Yeah.
And I'm not the best at it, but I think that's what makes us a good team.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't have to ask me to take out the trash most of the time because I feel like that's my role and responsibility.
Yeah.
Also with that role and responsibility is to lift her up and make sure that in her service she doesn't lose her identity and who she is.
For sure.
And that's what makes us such a good team. We're just on the same page. I mean, don't get me wrong, we bicker and give each other hell, but
you guys never fight, right?
No, it's perfect.
We actually said that on the way over here. We're like, hey, look, let's not have any too serious conversations.
On the way there, so we're not.
We gotta like each other, So.
That's funny.
But it takes being intentional.
Well, so tying it back to work here, so Steele, like all the things that Becca just described, how do you feel like it's enabled you to be successful? Because here's what I know you don't want, and I know you better than the people listening to this. If Becca was calling you all the time saying, I need you home, I need you home, I need you doing this, I need that. Oh my gosh, you're going to another appointment. Like Tony talked about on a previous podcast episode, talking about you've got two options. A guy just calls you and you can go meet with them and you're not getting back to the house until 10 or 11 p.m.
Yep.
Or you can turn left and you can go home and you can maybe miss out on that business and that opportunity. I mean, having Becca in your life allows you to make that right turn.
Yeah.
And, so what's that been like?
So Beck was here like a week after I got my first set of cows. Mm-hmm. So, and a lot of people looking and probably would never know that. Mm-hmm. She's been there from the start.
Yeah.
So she can pretty well do everything on the ranch that I can do. So if I had to leave for a week, it's going to be tough because of the boys, but she can do it. So I don't have to worry about any of that. Now, it's more for us as ranchers ourselves, it's more a matter of, do I take care of my own responsibilities or am I going to go capitalize on this opportunity? Mm-hmm. And that I always capitalize on the opportunity. So,
because you can do that with her support in your life.
Right.
Is what you're saying.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Without having that, it's just, I put my clients first. I've got calves that don't have ear tags, because I'm gone. I mean, I'm having calves hit the ground and I'm out showing properties and listing new properties and taking care of all that. And some of my responsibilities do get slid to the side a little bit, but anything that's imperative, she takes care of. Feeding the cows, I mean, we take care of our stuff. It's just, do I have some fence that I wish I could have built this summer? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But did we hustle and make a good living and help out a lot of people? Absolutely.
So I think it's cool because I just had this random thought pop into my head. There's all kinds of ways to be successful, right? But I think the recipe for your success, you've got a great support system professionally and personally, of course, but also you're a hard worker. And when you combine hard work, the right support at home, and the right support at the business that you choose to associate yourself with, it's a recipe for success and happiness, more importantly, because there's tons of people who are successful, monetarily or maybe in the worldly perspective of things, but they're not happy, right? And so it's so cool that you guys have set up your lives in such a way through taking risks that now you're getting to reap the rewards of some of that risk, just through fulfillment in your daily lives. And I think that's the goal for everybody, right? Is to find that fulfillment. And I just think it's awesome.
Well, and that's what I think owning land does for you. I always wanted to create an opportunity or a life that I didn't think I needed to leave from to go on vacation. Mm-hmm. Now, this is where we are very
You're going on gator hunts still. I know that much.
That's a vacation.
So we are in this way very differently. She likes her vacations. I have created a life for myself and for my family that I love. I don't want to leave. So for the guy that does live in the suburbs, or the lady that lives in the suburbs that wants to own some land, that becomes your destination and your life. You know, that's what I wanted for my family.
Yeah.
I didn't want to have to go to, and I hate the sand anyway, and I hate the beach. She loves the beach, and we got to take her. I know she's going to kick me under the table here, but we hadn't got there yet, but I would rather wake up at my place and live on my place and go feed cows or go fishing and go hunting than I would go on a vacation somewhere else. So we just created but that's what land does. That's your vacation. It's hard work.
Yeah.
But that's your vacation. It's yours.
Yeah.
You don't have to go, if you buy the right place, you don't have to go.
So, yeah, 100%, dude. I agree with everything you're saying. I'm getting chills because, like, our thing here, our tagline, if you will, is inspiring American freedom through land ownership. Yep. And what you're describing is freedom, that comes from owning land, you know? And it's so amazing because you can't do that with a stock. You can't do that with a bond. You don't have that sense of freedom. You don't have that level of fulfillment. Sure, do you have some monetary gain? Maybe,
Yeah.
But everything that it provides and everything that it provides for your family, there's just nothing better. And I always say, there's two types of people who own land and people who wish they could own land. And maybe you could argue a third, the people who own land and want to own more of it, right?
And that's me for sure.
You hear it all the time when you're meeting with ranchers and sellers or, people who have owned land for a period of time. You'd be like, well, do you have any regrets in your life? And they'll be like,
I wish I'd have bought my neighbor's
wish
place.
I'd have bought more land.
Yeah, that's the most common thing I've ever heard. I hear clients say almost every time you're selling a larger piece of land and it's a rancher. It's, I had an opportunity to buy that place across the street, or I had an opportunity to buy that place next door and I thought it was too high and I didn't. And that's, they regret that for the rest of their life most of the time.
Yeah.
And it sucks, but that's just, it's so common.
Yeah.
It's so common.
So, Becca, I'm going to switch gears with you here for a second because, we talked about you staying home with the kids and you being there for Steele and supporting him. And, we've talked about, I guess you could say, more of a traditional type of, I don't even like using that because that kind of labels it a way where society can view it how they want to. Like, I think it's amazing, right? But you do some things that don't revolve around taking care of the kids and supporting Steele and making sure the house is clean. Like, you now are on the ranch and you're a hunter yourself. Mm-hmm. Like, you have a bow, you go hunt deer and ducks and stuff like that. So tell us about what it was like to be someone who never did any of that stuff. And now, like, you find fulfillment in getting out in a tree stand and having the weapon in your hands and spending time on the land by yourself, if not with Steele or with your boys. Like, tell me about that.
Yeah, I think there's still, like, a sense of independence in me. Like, I want to, like, as much as I do serve and I enjoy doing it, there's still, like, a independence.
Yeah.
I like that. And I think hunting gives me that. Walking in the dark, ask Steele. I love that part.
Oh, my God.
Going in the dark. I'll do it.
You're taking a risk, right?
I'm taking a risk. Like, I'm like, all right, if I die right now, at least Steele could be like, she did it. Like, she was in the woods. She was walking in the dark. I'd be proud of that, No, I think I never expected to start hunting like I have. I actually asked Steele for my first bow. Like, he didn't even have to, like, hey, you should try it.
Too. Let's get that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. She wants to do it the hardest way there is to do something. That's
right.
for sure.
Yep, I do. But yeah, I asked him. I was like, hey, I want to shoot a bow.
Yeah.
And he was like, all right, we'll go. Wait, like, you for sure.
Let's go today.
Yeah.
He did. Yeah. He was like, all right, let's go. Took me to the bow shop, got me my new bow.
Yeah.
And
that's the other thing I didn't tell you. Oh, Tiffany, I always thought it growing up. I was like,
Tiffany Lukoski?
I want a Tiffany, you know. So if I could turn her into my Tiffany, that'd be awesome, you know. And
you didn't even have to.
I didn't even have to.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It took, yeah.
Well, I think, you know, everybody has an opinion on social media, right? But I do think it's cool to see more women and more girls getting into hunting and getting into the outdoors.
And they're good at it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, they're so good at it. And if we do it, we can teach them. I taught myself for the most part.
Yeah.
I mean, I had it. Don't get me wrong. I had it help in my life, you know, but they don't learn with our bad habits. Mm-hmm. If we're there to teach them. She took it. I mean, great. She took right to it. Is an incredible shot. She killed a buck 2 years ago, 8.5 months pregnant down in Texas, and I mean, aced this dude at 30 yards out of a ground blind.
That's awesome, man.
So, getting your family involved in the outdoors, and women especially, I think it's very important, and I think it helps all the things that we talked about earlier. It helps maintain their identity. You know, and they're freaking good at it.
Yeah, yeah. So it's safe to say you're ate up with hunting now just as much as Steele probably is. Yeah. If you could, if you didn't have all those responsibilities at home and stuff that you were talking about.
I sat every day before kids.
Day.
Yeah, before kids, I sat every day.
That's awesome.
And for as long as her little toes.
My toes.
We fight with her toes.
You gotta get her some like heated socks.
I do have
some,
them.
And she lost the battery charger.
Oh man.
No, I have the heated insoles now, and they do work. They help.
That's awesome. Well, I think it's really great because. You know, my fiance Julia, I'm in the process of getting her into hunting, and like she is loving it. I mean, she just cannot get enough of it, and like she names all the bucks from the time they're like 1.5 years old, you know, and like I mean, she's just ate up with it. So I think it's cool, and I hope that if nothing else good comes from this podcast, it'll be that more women and girls take that chance at exposing themselves to the outdoors, whatever avenue that may be, and that they can get in and experience some of that themselves to find the same fulfillment that you get from it. And it's maybe it's not for everybody, you know, but I think there are lessons to be learned in the outdoors that you can't learn anywhere else. And I don't know about y'all, but I feel closer to God when I'm 20 foot up in a tree or when I'm sitting there just alone in my thoughts, watching nature and watching the wildlife come walking by. To me, there's nothing more fulfilling, you know? So I hope that everybody gets to experience that, but particularly that more women and children get to go down that road of getting exposed to hunting in the outdoors.
I cannot wait for the day that the 5 of us can sit in a duck blind together.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
I can
think
picture
about
that.
it. I think about it all the time. I mean, we just bought a boat. So this duck season, me, her, and our 2 older ones, the 4 and 3-year-old, 2.5-year-old, they'll be in the duck blind.
Yeah.
You know, and it'll be a little easier to get them out there not having to wade through a bunch of water, you know. So we made that purchase with the strategy to incorporate them in hunting with us.
Yeah.
That and not having to hire day help on the ranch, you know, driving cows and catching cows with the boys. I mean, nice. I don't want to wish it away, but it's all I've ever dreamed of my whole life.
That's cool. So you were talking about the boys and the boat you just got and stuff, and I've got the pleasure of knowing about a story recently. Y'all took the boat out. I think you had 2 of your boys with you, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So the 2 of you and 2 out of your 3 boys went out on the boat, and this is where I think the beauty of a child's mind as opposed to like us as adults, right?
Yeah.
You got the boat stuck,
and
I'll let you tell a story, but specifically you told me something that is coming to mind where once you got the boat stuck, you guys were just working your tails off to figure out what to do, and the boys didn't care one bit. They just loved the whole thing all around. So tell everybody about that.
So I bought a duck boat and a surface drive, and I've had several boats, but never a surface drive motor. So I wanted to go somewhere that I thought the family would enjoy, but I could also test the boat a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't want to just go waste a day on, 15 feet of water, and not really put this boat to the test. So I was trying to flirt with the 2. So
flirting with disaster, right?
Yeah, always.
So we shoot through about 4 inches of water and mud in a little beaver run that was probably 100 yards long on the way in. So that was my first test, So like, man, that's awesome, So we go putt around and get back in another canal, and we turn around so we could get out and go spend some time on the bigger water and let the boys kind of enjoy it. I got my test, I felt pretty good and confident.
Yeah.
Well, I was wearing I just got this marsupial gear chest rig, which is freaking awesome. If you don't have one, they're freaking jam up. But it's a binocular case, a first aid kit, rangefinder, and it's got my pistol. It's Molly webbing, so my pistol's underneath it. Well, we made one turn and kind of bumped a stump, and I had one of my boys between my legs, and I was holding his chest running the motor. Well, the buttstock of that pistol bumped his head, and him being 2.5 and that loud mud motor, he just didn't really like it. So we're coming out, and I'm like, man, I got to make this a good experience for him, Well, there's a stump that I have to avoid to get back into that cut at the same angle. So I go around the stump, and I need to pull this motor back all the way to me to hit this cut and be able to zip through this shallow water.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't want to hit my boy. So I couldn't get it over and just miss that gap going around that stump because I didn't want to hit him. And I run us right up onto some mud 2 feet from this gap I had to be in to get through here. And now we're stuck. So we get them off the boat, and we were stuck for probably an hour. But anyway, the two of us work our freaking butts off. We get out, we get unstuck. We go play on the lake and get home, and we're sitting in the boat and spraying it off, and the boys said, I love the boat, and getting stuck. They even had to say that they enjoyed the part about getting stuck, But we did it. I'd have hated to not have her. I mean, it would have taken me forever by myself to get that boat unstuck.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's awesome, man, because, again, tying back to everything we were saying, there was Becca, your support system, there to help you dig the boat out, and then there was the land to provide your boys with fulfillment regardless of the chaos that was happening. They were just happy to be out there, right? And y'all had this sense of, oh, gosh, something's wrong, and they're just
playing over there in the mud.
This is amazing. They're making sandcastles in the mud, and so it just
and
says
we're
a
like,
lot.
oh man, can we get home? And I had a showing, so it was a showing or a listing appointment, and this is at 11 o'clock, and my appointment's at 1:30. So I have to get this boat unstuck,
Yeah.
And we did, and made it back. I would not have had. Probably not the best planning job I've ever done, but hey, we made it.
Yeah, well,
So
adapt and overcome, right? That's what you got to do sometimes.
That's right.
Heck yeah. Man, that's a great story about your boys in the boat. I love that. I wish I could have been there to see it, honestly.
You'll be there. You'll be there on
Hopefully we don't get stuck again.
Tuesday.
No, I hope he's not.
Are you going to come Tuesday or Wednesday?
Maybe. I might.
You're off
I'd like
on
to.
Wednesday. There's no excuse. We're going to find ducks Tuesday, hunt Wednesday.
What's really funny, though, is when you talked about taking them all out on a duck hunt, the whole family, I literally picture all 5 of you just coming up out of a blind.
Yeah.
And just it's you, Becca, and then the order of your boys, next to each other. That's
going to
just
be awesome.
Yeah,
It's gonna be
that'll
really
be really
badass.
we bought the tangle-free A-frame blinds, so we can drop them off. I can drop them off with everything and help brush in the blind and set up decoys and break ice, and then go hide the boat.
Yeah.
And come back, and now the whole family's putting brush on the A-frame,
Yeah.
So it's incredibly comfortable.
Yeah.
In theory.
Heck
we'll
yeah.
see.
Well, so we're getting ready to wrap up here, but I have one thought. So for the parents out there who are listening, I mean, we've talked a lot about your boys and the land, but to the parents who are on the fence about, man, do I make this investment into land? Oh gosh, I'm just not sure that I can swing it, or maybe it's going to be a little uncomfortable financially for a little while. What would you tell those parents who are on the fence about maybe buying land for the sake of their family?
Man, so I would love that client. That all starts with a plan. Mm-hmm. And in the military, we had reverse planning. They taught you how to reverse plan. So if you're thinking about buying that piece of real estate, question 1 for me, and this is just the way I conduct my life, is okay, worst case scenario, can I get out of it? Can you get it bought right? Do you have the tools and knowledge from your agent or friends or family, whoever, to improve upon that property for the next year and turn around and make money on it if you had to? Well, if you can lean on that support and that intelligence from the people around you. And really to me, that should be our job for the client. A real estate purchase, or as an agent, thank you. A real estate purchase, in my opinion, it's still always about the money somehow. It's still an investment. Unless you can just go blow it and you don't need it, or you're doing
it's a calculated risk.
It's a calculated risk that has the opportunity to pay you back
in more ways than just financial.
Right? Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But if you have that plan on the financial side of it, then you just took away 90% of the risk.
Yeah.
So what are you waiting on?
Yeah.
And it's not going anywhere. I don't think the demand here is sure not going anywhere.
No.
And really, it's a buyer's market right now. The worst thing I think somebody could do is sit around and wait for interest rates to go down, because now we just triple our buyer pool again.
Yeah.
And they're back in the same situation they were in 2022.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so I don't. It's planning. Have a plan. Have an agent that can help structure a plan for you, and then you take all your risk away.
Yeah, I think that's great, man. And Becca, so Steele touched on the financial side of that. I mean, what would you say to them from a family perspective in terms of, you know, those folks are on the fence. Do I do this for our family or do I do this for my kids? What would you say in that regard?
You don't get time back. So,
you know, that's good.
Attaboy, way to support her.
That's good.
Yeah, you only get this one shot with your kids, so make it the most. Make the most of it.
The land's going to teach them as much, if not more, than what you can.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah,
so,
oh my gosh, that's so true. That is actually the most profound thing you've ever said.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Ask my wife. I'm full of good ones. She hates them, probably.
That is the most profound thing you've ever said. And because I feel that to my core. Mm-hmm. Like, the land has taught me more than anything or anybody else could ever teach me.
Love you, Mom and Dad.
Yeah, right. Love you, Mom and Dad. Sorry if you're listening to this. You guys were great parents, but I love the land. It's like Anchorman.
We're done.
I love land.
Well, it's almost instant feedback.
Yeah.
It's job satisfaction.
Yeah.
You know, you go out and brush hog that hay meadow, you know, or you as you clean it up, you see the result. I tell my wife and kids all the time, you can create positive feedback for yourself and feed yourself positive things if it's intentional. The land does that. Mm-hmm. It's almost instant gratification and long-term gratification. You know, when you plant that crop, you're going to see it come up. But if you're willing to work, there's nothing to me. There's nothing else I'd rather do than be a steward of the land and be a husband and a father.
Love it, man. So moral of the story is, if you're on the fence right now, if you're one of those people,
do it.
You've been thinking about it. It's time for you to get some land, baby. It's time for your family, for your financials, for way more reasons than what you can imagine. It's time to think about getting some land. So, guys, I appreciate you taking the time to come in today. This has been fun.
Yeah,
I've really enjoyed this. So, I know that y'all are both on social media, Facebook, Instagram. They can find you on there. Steele, he's on arrowheadlandcompany.com. He's got a profile there. You can get a hold of him that way.
Facebook page.
Yep, Facebook page.
That's it, really.
His number is 918-424-6065.
See, look at that support.
Boom. Look, she even knows your phone number.
Look at that support.
I love it. Good little plug there. Guys, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thank y'all.
Yep.